Hello and welcome back to Rule the Game. In this video I'm going to show you how to play The Lord of the Ring, Duel for Middle-earth by Antoine Bauza and Bruno Cathala. This is a game for 2 players. It's a duel that takes about 30 minutes and it's recommended starting at age 12. Now, to my surprise, apparently I don't have a single game from the Seven Wonders universe on my channel. There are several that have made it into my household. Some of them apparently have left the household again. But there was no video, and so I can't refer to those videos before. But it's related to those, and if you know Seven Wonders in general, you'll see that this is kind of similar too. But the theme, the Lord of the Rings. You're going to be playing Sauron against the Fellowship of the Ring. And yes, we did look up if it's Sauron or Sauron or Sauron or whatever. But anyway, we're going to be playing Sauron against the Fellowship of the Ring, and who will actually take over Middle-earth. As usual, I'll show you first how to win this game, then I'll show you how to play the game, I'll give you some hints for your first game, and then I'll show you how to set it up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so now below. But now let's get started with The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth.
Rule the game.
Duel for Middle-earth is played in 3 chapters. There is a high probability that you'll finish the game immediately before actually finishing all the chapters, and there are 3 different conditions that will let you win immediately. This is the board during chapter 1, so I'm not showing you the actual end of the game, but you can see from here what the end of the game could be. Condition 1 is that the Fellowship of the Ring here, Sam and Frodo, will actually make it all the way to Mount Doom. If they do so, they'll win automatically. Likewise, if the Nazgul over here will catch up with Frodo and Sam, then Sauron will win the game. The second condition that somebody can win is over here on Middle-earth, if one of the players is able to place figures on all of the 7 different regions of Middle-earth. And the third condition is related to these green cards that are in the game. Now, as you can see, here's just an example for several green cards that you have here, and you see they all have a different symbol up on top. Those are supposed to be the different races that you have here on Middle-earth. And if one of the 2 sides is able to collect 6 of these different symbols in front of them here, then the game ends immediately also. 6 of these are actually in the cards, and there's a 7th one that can be found under some of these shields up here. If you flip them around, there will be one of them that shows you a feather, and that's a 7th race. Now, if nobody is actually able to reach the 3 conditions that I showed before, but all the cards of the 3 different chapters are gone, in that case the player who has figures on more territories than the other player will win the game. And if that's also tied, then you'll share the victory. Now, as I mentioned before, Duel for Middle-earth is played in 3 chapters. You have 3 different sets of cards that you're going to be using to set up here a board that looks different in all the chapters. And once we get to the setup section of my video, you'll actually see a picture of all the 3 different setups. I'm going to show it also here quickly. This here is for chapter 1, and I've already started to collect some cards. So you see here in front of me, and I'm actually here, the Fellowship of the Ring, as you can see with these yellow tokens that I have, and I'm sitting here on the side of the Fellowship of the Ring, and on this side you will have Sauron with his red symbols here, and closer to Mordor, of course. And so the game is played turn-based, where on each turn, each player has exactly 2 options. Either they take a card from over here and then follow up with the action that the card shows, or they collect from over here one of the landmark cards that you see over there. There are a few options that a player can get a second turn afterwards right away, but those are bonus cards or bonus actions that you will get. The general way to play this game is that one player takes a turn, the other player takes a turn, and so on. Sauron always begins the game, but they also begin the game with a little less money than the Fellowship of the Ring to kind of make up for the advantage of starting first. Now, when you take cards from over here, you can only take cards that are not covered by any other cards. In this case right now, it will be this card, this one, this and that one here. Cards have an effect or a symbol up here that will help you with your action afterwards, but they also have a cost that is shown down here. As you can see, some of the cards are face up, like these here, but you also have some face down cards that will actually appear once we're able to take away some of the cards above. So let's say if somebody takes this card, that will be Sauron now, because Sauron's turn is right now. They will take it, they will pay the 1 coin that it costs, and now they will first do the action that it says up here, and in this case that's a ring. Ring means we're moving now here on this track, and because it is Sauron that got the card, they will move the Nazgul here by 1 forward. Now if you do this specific action with the ring, then the Nazgul will always move here up on this track, and if they reach one of these bonus points here, they can do the bonus action. But if it's Sam and Frodo moving, like they did over here, they'll actually move the whole track, and you see that the Nazgul doesn't actually move away from Sam and Frodo because it's fixed to the track. So even if Sam and Frodo run very fast, the Nazgul will always be the same distance, and the only thing that they can do is make the distance closer towards Sam and Frodo. Now the next thing that happens then is that this card here, because there's no card lying on top anymore, this card here will be turned around and is now available for the next player, which is in this case the Fellowship of the Ring. Now as you can see, these 3 cards here, they have a cost that is a skill. It's different colors, so it's the crown here and this face. You'll actually see that this player over here has already taken these gray cards, and these gray cards here, you can see some more up here. These gray cards give that player now these skills. So this player over here has a skill of one of these faces. There's only one face up here, so they would actually be able to get this card for free because they have the skill that is needed. Now in case there's a card that has more than one of these faces, that player, even though they have one of these faces, they can't actually get this for free because they only have one face, not 2. I currently don't have any of these skills here. I haven't taken a single gray card yet, but I can still buy these cards that have these skill costs. What I have to do is, per skill that I don't have, I can pay a coin. So let's say I pay a coin and I'll take one of these races here. Put it down in front of me. I usually sort them by color so that I can see easily what I actually have, and you see over here I'll try to overlap them so that I can still see what the different effects are that they have. Again here, this card is now turned around because there's nothing on top anymore, and it's Sauron's turn again. And this is how the game proceeds most of the time. Most of the time you just get some of these cards here, add them to yourself, take another one, and so on, so that you get closer to actually reaching one of the conditions. Now I need to show you quickly what the different cards actually mean. Now I've already mentioned the green cards. The green cards are the ones where if you have 6 different ones of them, you win the game immediately. The coin ones are very simple. If you take this card, you get 2 coins. These cards here let you go and do some war. In this case, you take however many figures it says over here. So in this case 1, and you place those, or that 1 in this case, on either the green field or the dark blue field. So it's either on Rohan or in Gondor. You'll place one of the figures there. Let me take it here. As you can see, actually, by the way, I would have had to pay a coin here because I don't have this skill. And the last type of card is this purple one. That only shows up in the 3rd chapter of your game. But this one lets you actually move your armies that you have here on Middle-earth. So in this case, with this card here, I will be able to move either one army by 2, or I will be able to move 2 of them by 1. You always move them one by one, because what happens when you move those different figures, the armies, when you move them and you get to another field where there's already another player, there's an automatic fight. So automatically, once the 2 opponents meet somewhere on Middle-earth, then the 2 fight, and of course they destroy each other. which means they go back to where they came from. Now here I would have a second move, so now I could also move this army over here, and now they're by themselves. So you always split up these moves, you always go one by one, you finish all the conflicts, and then you continue with the second movement. In this case, this card also allows you to destroy one of the coins of your opponent. But again, they don't show up until the third chapter. Now there's a second way to buy cards without actually paying the full costs. That's considered chaining. As you can see, some of the cards have up here these little symbols. Now these little symbols, they will also appear on some of the cards that show up later. In chapter 2, you'll see them down here on the costs. So if I had bought this card here with the sword on it in chapter 1, and this one now is available all of a sudden, then I can get this card for free because I already have that symbol and it's over here in the costs. I don't have to pay any of these costs. I can have this card for free and then do the action for it. Now in the case of the race cards, should you be able to collect 2 of the same kind here, you can then pick up 2 shields here with the same symbol. You flip them around so your opponent can see them too, and then you can select one of those cards and they will give you some effect, some advantage later in the game. The one that you don't take, you'll flip around face down again and place it on top of the shields again where you've taken it from. Alternatively, the very first time you have 3 different symbols here, you will then be able to collect the shields from each of these different races, and you always take the top shields that you have here. Same as before, you're going to get to flip them all around, show them also to your opponent, and then you'll pick one of them, whichever you like, and you put the others back down, face down on top of the stack that's still there. The 3 different races only works once, but the 2 cards of the same kind will always work, and you can even use the same card that you've used before for these 3 symbols. If I had now the second one of these, I could still use these 2 cards and get 2 more of these shields. Should I not have enough money to get any of these cards, or should I want to get more money in general but don't have any cards available here that will give me money, I can also discard cards from over here. In chapter 1, if you take a card and you put it on the discard pile, you'll just get 1 coin. In chapter 2 it's 2 coins, in chapter 3 it's 3 coins. You can take any card to discard. So this is one of the options that you have when it's your turn. You'll take a card from this deck over here, one that is available to you. You either buy it or you discard it and you'll get some coins for it. Or the alternative, and that's the second option on your turn, is instead of taking a card from here, you'll take one of those landmark cards. Now the landmark cards, as you can see, will cost you a whole lot more than any of the cards over here. The advantage they bring you is that they will let you place a fortress somewhere in the board. You see, in this case you can also send some troops, but here for example you just have the fortress and you can place the fortress here on Mordor. Now there is this special symbol here that will show you how many coins you need to pay for this card, and in fact this symbol here just represents how many towers you already have on Middle-earth. So in the very beginning you won't have a single tower on Middle-earth, so it will cost you 0 coins. But after you've bought the first landmark card, I now have a tower on Middle-earth, on Mordor, so this card or any of those cards will then cost me 1 coin in addition to all these costs here. Cards also usually have some special effects that you see here. In this case you don't have it, but you have also a lot of troops that go into the game. The special ability of the fortress in Middle-earth is that it can exist on a field where there are also troops of the opponent. Troops do not attack a fortress, the fortress just stays there and remains there. So you can actually get troops or towers on all different places in Middle-earth without having to destroy all your opponents. Now if a player actually buys a landmark, they'll take it to themselves here, and it will not be refilled until we're done with this chapter. Once all these cards are gone, either distributed by the players or here in the discard pile in some cases, we then refill here the different landmarks so that we have 3 again, and we'll take the next deck and we'll play it out here with some face up, face down cards again as the instructions actually tell you to do it, and we'll play through that chapter again. As before, this is turn-based, so whoever finishes the chapter will not start the next chapter. We play through second chapter, we put out the cards for the third chapter, and then we see how far we get in the third chapter until somebody hits a condition to win the game immediately before we finish all the cards. And that's how you play the Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. Up next, hints for your first game. And here's some hints for the first game. So how to play the game is not so difficult for this game. But this is not an easy one strategically because there's a lot going on. You might want to go in the beginning for the gray cards because the gray cards give you skills. The skills give you cards for free later. However, you might also just get more coins from coin money cards. And if you have those cards, you might not even need the skills to get where you want to get. You can also do some chaining that helps you that you don't actually need to pay the cost, the skills for these different cards that you have. Having said that, if you want to have a landmark, you most likely need to get some skill cards. But there you really have to consider, is it worth it spending so much time and effort collecting money and skills so that you can get these cards just so that you can put the fortress down? It could be worth it, but this is tricky. Now the other thing about this game is you're very focused in the beginning at least, trying to figure out how you're going to attack the opponent, how you're going to win the game. But you need to constantly pay attention to what they're doing. And this is mostly about the race cards. Usually, players easily see when somebody moves forward on this track here. And players also see when somebody starts playing here the different troops on these different fields. But players often miss to count the number of these green cards that are taken, because there's no effect to these. You take the cards, you put them down, nobody really notices until all of a sudden somebody gets these shields and you're a little surprised that they get these shields, but you just continue because you have your plan and so on. And before you know it, your opponent has 6 of these, 6 different ones, and you're done. Game over. And you haven't even been able to move your different troops on the field because it's not really chapter 3 yet, or we just started chapter 3. And that's when the movement cards only come. These movement cards here, where you can actually move the troops, they only come in the very last chapter. So to win the game immediately by having troops on all the different fields, that will happen rather late in the game, probably not early. So in my experience, I would say most of the time really the game does end by somebody reaching one of those conditions where the game immediately ends. I don't think this will happen to you very often, that you can actually distribute all the cards and then you have to go check who actually owns the majority of the different fields of Middle-earth. And that was The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did so, please subscribe to my channel. And up next, how to set up the game. To set up the game, you'll take the main board with Middle-earth and you place it so that Sauron is facing Mordor and the Fellowship of the Ring will face Lindon. You'll take the different shields here, you sort them by symbol that you have, and you shuffle them and place them here, all 6 of them. You also shuffle the decks for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. You'll shuffle the landmarks. Then you'll place all the different pieces that you have for the Fellowship in front of the Fellowship player. Here the same for the Sauron player. You'll take here the track for the chase. You'll place this one here on top so that here Sam and Frodo start in the first field. And here the Nazgul is actually also starting on the first field right here. We'll then open 3 of the landmarks. We'll hand Sauron 2 coins and the Fellowship gets 3. And then we take the cards from the first chapter and we start putting them out right here, following the structure that you see on the picture. You will always have 3 cuts left. At the end of setting up the chapter, you'll put those aside. And now we're ready to get started. Sauron will start the game.